Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Vintage Motocross Q&A. I'm your host, Joe Abadi. On tonight's program, in the Moto Showcase, we take a look at a 1974 MR50. But this isn't just your average MR50. It's something very, very unique, and I'm looking forward to showing it to you. In the What's It Worth segment, we take a look at not one, not two, but three bikes tonight that I think are extremely great values in the vintage motocross or evolution motocross era. We'll be looking at that and so many other things, but for right now, let's get down to the starting line. Vinco, TMC. If you haven't seen the Vinco website, you need to get over there as soon as possible. They have over 600 items on their website ready for you to buy. Vinco is making things that other people just aren't offering. They've got petcocks for Kawasaki KX400s. They've got piston kits, gasket kits, all types of things to keep your vintage bike going. TMC Company, Tom Contino. He's got a bike rental company in Southern California. You want to go to their website as well. He's got a stable of bikes ready for you to rent for the day. You can take them out to all the tracks or one of the tracks that you choose down in Southern California. Get to ride some great bikes for just a few bucks. TMC Company, make sure you check him out when the show is over. Terry Good. He's really putting it together with the International Motocross Museum. And this week, Terry announced that tickets will be on sale February 1st for the big gala festivities that he's going to be having on the North Shore of Chicago. You name the rider that you've always loved, he's going to be there. Roger DeCoster, Harry Everts, Torsten Holman, Bob Hanna, Marty Smith, and many, many more. Tickets are $500 for the regular tables. To sit with your favorite legend, be it Roger, Marty, Bob Hanna, whoever it may be, there's going to be an auction. That's also going to start on February 1st. There's going to be bidding. Who knows what the price is going to be to sit there, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you to have dinner, be with your legend hero at this dinner, and see what's happening there on July 11th. Terry's raising money, of course, for the International Motocross Museum, which will open to the public later in the year. Also, at that display will be 30 of the most unbelievable works bikes you've ever seen. This is an opportunity that I've never heard of. The greatest riders in motocross, 30 vintage works bikes in a beautiful setting on the North Shore of Chicago, July 11th. If it were me, and I was thinking about it, and I'm saying, well, $500 a ticket. Go to your garage, sell some parts. It's only January, guys. You got a couple of months. Sell some parts, scrape up that money, get your friends together, put 3 or 4 guys in a car, get out there, support the International Motocross Museum. I'm going to be there. I know a lot of my friends are going to be there as well. I hope you can make it. The Mika Motorcycle Auction starts next Wednesday. This is a great event at the South Point in Las Vegas. It goes from Wednesday through Saturday. Now, if you're not selling or buying, this is still a great opportunity to see some amazing, amazing motorcycles. I've gone for several years now, and what I like to do is walk through the paddock the first couple of days. You'll see so many great bikes, bikes that are prepared for an auction of this magnitude. So if you're thinking about restoring a bike, it's time to get out there, take some pictures. You'll see some great motorcycles. You'll see a lot of people there. A lot of your friends from Facebook are probably going. So that's next Wednesday at the South Point. The Mika Motorcycle Auction begins. I hope you can make it there. The Legends and Heroes of Supercross. The Legends and Heroes has been a display at every Supercross and motocross for over 10 years now. Carol and Alex Moros have been at nearly every event. They've traveled millions of miles with the Motocross Museum. The event will continue. The tour will continue. They'll be coming to a Supercross near you. I'm looking forward, of course, to seeing everyone there at the Oakland race at the Oakland Coliseum. That's coming up on February 3rd. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that at the end of the show. We're going to need motorcycles and some other things. I'll tell you about it a little bit later. Trivia contest. We've got a trivia contest coming up a little bit later. And I'm not going to tell you what the prize is just yet. So stay tuned. We're going to have a trivia question for you. Actually, I kind of should tell you because I posted it on Facebook what the prize was. The prize is Finding Number 49. This is a great book put together by Keith Geisner about finding the number 49 Harley-Davidson motocrosser. It's a wonderful book. I've read it. I have a copy. I have a hard copy, in fact. And later on in the show, we're going to be giving away a copy of this. I'm going to be asking a question. It may or may not have something to do with the Harley. Stay tuned. You're going to win a book tonight. Why not try this? In this segment, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about frame cracks. Being we're all riding bikes that are a little bit older, I find the best way when you do your tear down over the winter is to have the bike sandblasted. It's always best when you're going to repaint the frame. That way you can really see the cracks and little things that are happening on the frame, and you could address them before. Sometimes there are things that are so small that maybe they just happened the last race or two from the previous year, but you're going to be riding that bike the following year. If you don't catch it now, it could cause a problem. Now, I'm going to show you right here. This is a frame I had sandblasted this week. It's a CZ Side Piper. Now that this thing is sandblasted, I could see where every weld, every flange, I can see where there's any possibility of a crack somewhere on this frame. I would highly recommend you do the same thing. And if you think about it, we're in the year 2020. Let's say you ride a more modern vintage bike, something like a 1990. Think about how old that bike is already. 1990, that's ways back there. Think about your 1975 or your 1980. It's time to take a close look at those frame boys, get them sandblasted. This way you can diagnose or catch any problem in advance before you paint it. That's my advice to you this week in the Why Not Try This segment, but I've got one other thing I want to discuss with you too. A couple of weeks ago, well, actually it's over a month ago now, I had a problem while I was putting together a 1974 Honda CR 125. I didn't have the proper pipe hanger for it. What I did was, I took a brake torque arm like this, which is from a Honda. I cut it, and then I took an insulator, a pipe insulator like this. This type of insulator comes on many different bikes, but this one happens to be from a Honda. You can see what I've done here was, I cut this flange off, and then I cut this piece to length from where it hung from the frame down to the silencer. I had this piece welded on, like you can see here. I was able to paint it, and it looked fantastic when I was done. This not only applies to a Honda. You might want to try this on any bike where you have a downpipe, where a silencer is coming up, or the pipe itself. I think it's good advice to use that insulator like I've shown you here. This way it's got that rubber inside there. If you have some vibration, it's going to stop that right away. I also think these are a great item to use to use for that, as opposed to just a regular piece of pipe or something else. Number one, nice and flat on the end. You've got your hole drilled exactly where it should be. You can cut it to length. You can have your piece welded. It's going to look really factory when you're done with it. That's my tip on how to make a pipe insulator for your bike, or a pipe hanger with a really good insulator on it. In the Moto Showcase tonight, we have a 1974 MR50 that was sent in to us by Mick Varsava, and he calls it the Mini Marty replica. This segment is, of course, brought to you by Fast Guy Stuff. He's got all the greatest stickers you're ever going to need. Visit fastguystuff.com. What Mick has done is he sort of replicated the Marty Smith bike of 1977 on a little MR50. With its red painted engine and its black lower forks, he's extended the forks on it a bit to give it a little more travel. He's put some additional things on it, like wider foot pegs. All the hardware looks really, really nice on the bike. Of course, he's got the number 9 on it, symbolic with Marty's bike of that year. He's put some longer shocks on the back. It's raised it a little bit. It's given it a nice look. He's put little details in it, like drilling out the brake pedal and so many other little trick items that Mick has put into this bike. This is one of my favorite pieces though right here. Actually, there's 2 in one shot. He's added this little hump into the tank to make it look like an RC tank. And also, he's taken a milling machine, or he's put the head in a milling machine and milled out a couple of slots in there. While that wasn't on the RC bike, it is something that was symbolic or was shown a lot on like an FMF head, things of that during that time frame. He's got the red grips, the big levers on it. All the cables have been done. Mick did a great job on this bike, and it was really fun to see the pictures and all he had done with it. So, Mick Varsava, for your 1974 MR50 Mini Marty replica, we're going to send you a package from Fast Guy Stuff with some nice stickers in it. I want you to contact me, send me a text message, give me your address, and I'm going to make sure you get a nice sticker package, compliments of FastGuyStuff.com. Here's the problem. In this section, we take questions from everybody throughout the week. I do a little research, try and shed some light on what the problem may be. The first question comes in from Terry Breitmeyer. Joe, I enjoy your show. I'd like to see the breakdown cost of a restoration for a top dollar return at auction. I think people get the wrong idea of what the profit really is in the end. Well, Terry, you've certainly hit on a topic that is near and dear to my heart. You know, the average restoration requires $3,000 to $4,000 in parts and outside services. You've got the platform bike, which, depending on what bike you choose, could cost anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000. So before you know it, let's say you pick a bike at $4,000. You're going to be in for $4,000 for the bike. You're going to be in for another $3,000 or $4,000 in parts and outside services. By the time you put your labor into it, it could be anywhere from 80 to 120 hours. So when people see certain bikes for sale, vintage motocross bikes, and someone's asking $85,000, $95,000, $10,000 for it, everyone thinks the guy is making a haul at $10,000 when he's not. Because if he's doing a quality job, the effort that he has put into it, his experience, his knowledge, how do you put a price on that? You know, everybody wants a Concours restoration, and they want it for $5,000. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. I see it happen all the time. I think a big part of it is that many people don't even understand what the word restoration truly means, to return something back to its original condition. It's very, very difficult to do. Not everybody can do it. When somebody hits that mark, they deserve a return on their money. Now, when you mention about how to prepare a bike or get it ready for something like a Mecum motorcycle auction, you need to go there and see those bikes to believe what some guys do to get a bike ready for that sale. The details they put into it, the time, the NOS parts, it never really balances out in the real world. And when people say people pay crazy money for bikes at the Mecum motorcycle auction, they're not really paying crazy money. They're paying what they should be paying for a bike when it's done to that quality. I very, very seldom in all the years I've been going have seen a bike there that doesn't sell for what I think is really, really the true value of it. I've seen some other guys or some other bikes there where they cut corners, they finish the bike and, well, not up to real standards. And they don't really bring the money. So there's a whole lot more involved. On a future episode, I would like to show you a breakdown, like here on the monitor, of what it costs in parts and outside services to really complete a bike the way it should be for an auction. Terry, I want to thank you very much for the question. Terry Davis, what's a good way to find sources for plating? I live in a dirt road in the hills of Pennsylvania. As you can guess, there aren't any electroplaters out here. Here's what I would recommend. This happens to be a batch of hardware that I polished up and had plated for a 1974 KX400. The polishing is a big, big part of the plating job. No matter what you give the plater, you're going to get back and you're going to see through that coating. In other words, it's a clear zinc coating. You see what's underneath there. If there are scratches or if it's discolored underneath there, you're going to see that. So the part, the fastener, the bolt, whatever it may be, needs to be polished to a high luster before you send it in to your plater. I like to use Electro Plating Specialties in Hayward, California. I've used them for years. Now, Terry, you're out there in Pennsylvania. I'm telling you that this is who I use. You could put your stuff in a box, a medium flat rate box, and you can send it to Tony at Electro Plating Specialties. I'm willing to bet there's a great plater probably not too far from you, and maybe somebody who's watching this who may be in the Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Ohio area, maybe they can recommend a great plater to you. My feelings are if I'm putting it in a box and I live in Pennsylvania, it doesn't matter if it's going from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia or it's going from Philadelphia to Hayward, California. I want somebody to do a quality job on my stuff, and throughout the years, I know I could always count on Tony and Electroplating Services. Thanks for the question, Terry. Mike Bosnick, Joe, have you ever considered a segment called Not Quite Right, But It Works? No, I never thought about that. But, you know, maybe it's something to think about. Here's my 1974 TM250 with 1994 RM250 pegs with no modification required. That's from Mike Bosnick. Now, before we get to the picture of the pegs and the RM250, there was a time where something did happen to me. I wanted some number plates for a KX250 that I had been racing that year, and it was a race bike. I didn't want to go for new plastic for it. I discovered that 1977 CR125 number plates will fit right on a 1975 KX250 with very little effort. A little trimming around the top, under the seat. Everything else, when you put it together, you'll be really surprised. I think it looks kind of cool too, the way it kind of wraps out around the shock. Same thing happened with the Kickstarter. Kickstarters can get very sloppy on the KX250 and 400. They're kind of difficult to find. I discovered that a 1977 CR125 Kickstarter, as is, no modification, don't change the bolt, don't do a thing, will mount right up on a 1975 KX250. So, not quite right, but it works. I've been down that road with a really, really good experience. Let's show the picture. Here it is of Mike Bosnick's TM250 with a 1994 RM250 peg on it. Bolts right up, no modification. We really appreciate the tip. Thanks for sending it in. I appreciate the picture and for you watching the show every week. Brian Taylor, Joe, I see some guys using these swing arms on 1979 CR250 models. What's the purpose? Do they shorten the travel or change the fork rake? This question it goes a lot deeper than I'm going to be able to answer here right now. But what Brian's talking about is, while this isn't a stock swing arm, it is a straight swing arm that you might find on a 1979 or 1980 Honda CR250. The one next to it is a Fox swing arm, and as you can see, it has a bend to it. They call it a banana swing arm. Some guys call it a Z-shaped swing arm. The purpose of it is the shocks are moved up slightly to here. Now, in a stock frame, what a racer can do is use a bit of a longer shock. The purpose of the bit of a longer shock, obviously, to give it more travel, but we're going to get into that in just a minute more. The back of it being bent up helps the bike not go up too high in the back. With a straight swing arm, and let's say you're going from a 16.5 to a 17-inch shock, that's going to throw the geometry of the bike off quite a bit because the swing arm is straight. It's going to lift the back of the bike. Some bikes, you may want to do that. I've seen it done on older bikes, like a CZ. You want it to turn a little sharper, so maybe you go with a 1/4 of an inch longer shock. But in this case, these are for guys who ride at a high expert or even a pro level. Yes, you want to have an aluminum swing arm probably to drop 3, 4, 5 pounds on your bike. But when it has the bend like that, it's so you can use different shocks and you'll get a more of a progressive rate or more of a progressive feel in the suspension. A lot of it has to do with the spring rate. It has to do with the shock length. A longer shock isn't always what's best. You can have a shock that's very long, but the shaft is very, very short. In fact, behind the camera, there's a 1983 Honda CR250. The shock measures like 16.5 inches long, but the shaft exposed in the body is only about 5.5 inches. Yet that bike probably has 10 inches of wheel travel. If you think about it and you look on your more modern bikes, the shock is moved all the way up to the front of the swing arm, yet the shock isn't very long at all. Now think about this. Here's a shock from a 1978 or 79 Yamaha YZ250. Look at the length of the shock. It's like 27 inches long. 27 inches. And yet the shaft length that's exposed is only about 6 inches. The spring rate, how the spring is wound, the thickness of the wire, all that comes into play. That's why you saw a lot of guys back in the late 70s, mid-70s to late 70s, go with a Fox Air shock. Sometimes they were shorter, but they were moved up in the swing arm. It gave more travel, although the shock was a little bit shorter. It helps with the linear feel of the bike, but there's so many other things that go along with it. So many other things that go along with it. So no, they're not moving it up and they're not getting shorter travel. They're getting longer travel, sometimes even using shorter shocks. Does it change the rake? Absolutely not. The only way to change the rake on a frame, of course, is to cut the head, and you're going to alter that by 2 or 3 degrees, depending on what that modification is. I was never a big fan of cutting frames and welding them. I know it was real popular with the 1979 CR125. So in answer to your question, I kind of have to make it brief, although suspension questions If you put 2 or 3 professional suspension guys in a room, they can talk here for hours about compression, dampening, spring rate, how it's wound, what kind of steel is involved. Are you going to use an air shock? What about the bladder? There's a lot to it. But I appreciate your question, and I hope I shed a little bit of light on this for you. Darren Lynn, can I still get parts to rebuild Works Performance shocks for late 70s? And where might I find them? You can find them right on Facebook. Works Shocks, W-O-R-X. They're on Facebook. They also have a website. You got to be persistent. The company isn't really that old. They kind of came back after Gil Valancourt had passed on, and they came back with WORX, Works Shocks. If you check with them, you might be able to find the parts that you're looking for your older Works Performance shocks. What's it worth? It's a very interesting segment tonight. Usually I come up with one bike that I see has sold on eBay, and I discuss with you the finer points of the bike, whether I think it's a good deal or a bad deal. This week, I found 3 bikes that I thought were very, very interesting. The first one was an 89 KX125 that sold for $1,350. Before we move on with the slides, I want to say why I think this is a really interesting thing and some of the best deals going right now. I was in New Jersey a couple of weeks ago, was with my grandsons. They both have 125 two-strokes. One's got a YZ, the other one has a KTM. My son-in-law, God bless him, does very well. The kids have no bikes. When I thought about the price, I thought about it and I said to myself, these kids get to go out at a modern race, do a couple of laps, they're there all day long. The real fun would be if they got a bike like this for $1,300. And I'm going to back up a little bit even further. American Classic Racing. That's my old club back in New York. Tom France organized that many years ago. And he had a class for bikes such as this. And they have one now. It's called Vintage 80s. He has another one called Vintage 90s. Let's move on with the slide. You can get your nephew, your grandson, whoever it may be, before you go out and spend a mountain of dough on a brand new KTM or a YZ125, why don't you go get him an 89 or an 85 YZ125? Go join a vintage club that has some racing like this for these classes, and you're racing all day long. You're having a great time, and you're not spending $1 million. $1,650 for a beautiful YZ125 in 1989 in New York, and the deal of all, has got to be the next one. $1,652 for this 85 RM125, which I would consider a restoration. I looked at the pictures of this bike closely on eBay. The rims were done, the spokes, the hardware. The bike was beautiful for $1,650. My advice, guys, if you got some younger guys and they want to get involved in motocross, put them on a bike like this. Won't cost you a bunch of money. Go out to a vintage club or go out to a track, have them ride around on that, and they'll be surprised. They'll be surprised how much power that bike really has and how much fun they could really have for a fraction of the cost of a brand new motorcycle. In the product spotlight tonight, we take a look at my friend Mark Hildebrand's company, Nightmare Racing. Nobody makes better plastic than Mark Hildebrand, and he's been doing it for over 20 years. He's got plastic for just about every Kawasaki from 1973. I think he goes well into the 80s at this point. The quality, the fit, the finish, nobody does it better than Mark Hildebrand and Nightmare Racing. This is a package right here, what looks like it's from, in fact, I know it's from a 1979 KX125. That's where you want to go. So whether it's for your 1978, whether it's for your 1974 KX125, or whether it's for your race bike, you want to get a hold of Mark Hildebrand from Nightmare Racing, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, puts up a huge display every year at Mid-Ohio, takes orders in advance, brings people plastic there, or you can get a hold of him at nightmareracing.com. On his website is the phone number, also his address. Mark Hildebrand, Nightmare Racing. Nobody does it better for Kawasaki parts than Mark and Nightmare. Trivia. Well, time's here. And our trivia contest tonight is going to be for this book right here, Finding Number 49 by Keith Geisner. Second week on New York Times best-selling. What? It's not on the New York Times bestseller list? Well, why not? Hey, look, I think it's a great book. I don't care what the New York Times says or anybody else. Now, I'm going to give you the question, and then the phone number is going to come up on the screen. Here Here's the question. And remember, it doesn't necessarily have to do with the Harley-Davidson 250 MX. A multi-time national champion. I won't say what decade because that might give it away. But a multi-time national champion had retired, took several years off, then joined two other guys and entered the Baja 1000. The Baja 1000 in the motorcycle class. I want you to tell me who that very famous motocross racer from the 70s was that went on to win the Baja 1000. And I'll give you a little hint. It's not Larry Rossler and it's not Tim Honeycutt Jr., but it's the guy who rode with them, and it was on a Kawasaki. The first person to call in at this number, 925-234-8181, is going to win the Tim Geisner book, Finding Number 49. I received my copy of this book last month. It was absolutely fabulous. It was a great read. And what Tim has gone through to put this book together is absolutely, I'm sorry, not Tim, Keith Geisner. What he's gone through to put this book together is amazing. He went to the factory. He spoke to people there. He met with Don Kadowski. He met with Rex Staten. I saw a picture of him with Marty Tripes. He has gone the distance to truly find everything about this bike that he possibly could, from the history of it. I've seen pictures in here that I've never seen on the internet. I've never seen on the internet. It's just, the book is just chocked full of information and bits and pieces about this bike that you've never heard before. I know we had it on display last week at the St. Louis Supercross. Keith has truly been just a wealth of information. And we're waiting right now for Susie to come in from the other room with the trivia contest winner. Susie, do we have a winner yet? Not yet, huh? Here's a picture of Rex Staten at the 1977 500 Unadilla National. Here's another one of Marty Tripes. Another great shot of Rex. In fact, what I hear is that Keith Geisner is going to be sitting at the Rex Staten table at the Trailblazers reunion. That's coming up in April. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that as we get closer to that reunion. While I'm thinking about it, I'm proud to say that my friend Brad Lackey will be inducted into the Trailblazer Hall of Fame this year. So, Finding Number 49, America's Forgotten Motocross Team. I want to give the book away. As soon as Susie gets in here, we're going to find out who the winner is. Jordan, while Susie's still waiting or taking phone calls, let's move on and we'll go to the next segment and we'll stop when she comes in. Announcements. Got some good announcements for you tonight. Let's get to the first slide. Jordan, the Potomac Vintage Riders 2020. The annual swap meet and bike show. This is coming up January 26th, just a couple of weeks away. You want to get to this if you're in the Northeast or if you're within a few hundred miles of York, Pennsylvania. There's over 375 vendor spaces. Unfortunately, every one of them are spoken for right now. The good news is you still have time to get out there, find some sweet deals. Maybe you have a bike that you've just finished up and you want to put in the bike show. Every year they get about 100 or 150 bikes out there. They usually have a really good qualified judge looking at stuff. So you've got time to win some prizes with a show bike. You've got time to find some deals out in the swap meet. This is put on by the Potomac Vintage Riders. You could always talk to Tom Grimmel at yahoo.com. There's his phone number out there as well. So you want to get a hold of Tom Grimmel and get out there. It's only $10 to get in. And it's all in one building. Here comes Susie with the phone. You got it on speaker?
No, you want it on speaker?
I'm going to need it on speaker.
Yeah, hold on. Are you there? Hello? You there? Tony? Hold on.
Put him on speaker.
There he is.
Hi, it's Joe. Who am I speaking with?
Your buddy Tony Divino.
Tony Divino. So nice to hear from you, Tony. Now the question. Thank you. The question was, who was the guy who was very, very popular, a multi-time national champion through the 70s, retired, then went on to win the Baja 1000 in the motorcycle class? Who was that guy, Tony?
Marty Smith.
Correct. If there were balloons and confetti, it'd be coming down from the ceiling right now. Marty Smith, it's very seldom spoken of. That in Marty Smith's career, we always remember him as a two-time 125 national champion, of course, a 500cc national champion. And then he took that break there during the early 80s, hooked up with Larry Rossler, Tim Honeycutt to win the Baja 1000. Rick Divino, I'm going to give the phone back to Susie. She's going to get your address, and I'm going to get you out that book, Finding Number 49.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you, Tony. Speak to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Well, that went pretty smoothly. Let's get back to the announcements. Oh, yeah, Tom Grimmel, the swap meet out at York. It's all in one room now, too. For many, many years, it was held in a couple of smaller rooms. You had to go out through the snow, through the frost. Not now. It's all in one big heated space. It's a great event. Go out and support the Potomac Vintage Riders. Vinco. You want to go to vinco.com. They're on Facebook. They're on Instagram. He's got some videos on YouTube. Vinco's putting out some great products. You want to make sure when you're restoring a bike or looking for some replacement parts, you want to hit Vinco. TMC Company, the bike rental down in Southern California. You could be out there at Pala. You could be out there at Glen Helen on a bike supplied to you by TMC Company, and he's got a stable of them too. He's got Huskies, Makos, Yamahas, Hondas. Got a nice selection of bikes down there. Look them up after the show, tmccompany.com. Preston Petty and Fast Guy Stuff. I want to thank them both. They've both teamed up, or they haven't teamed up, but they've kind of teamed up with me here at Vintage Motocross Q&A as a product sponsor. In the very near future, Preston Petty Products will be sending us some number plates. They're going to be autographed by Preston Petty. And much like the trivia contest you just saw with the Harley-Davidson book, we're going to be doing a little trivia every week, and we're going to be giving away some autographed number plates, not only from Preston Petty, but as I see some of my friends out there in the motocross world, I'm going to get them to sign some plates too, and we'll be giving them away as well. FastGuyStuff.com. You send in a picture or a couple of pictures of your bike that we could put in the Moto Showcase. You're going to get a great sticker pack, compliments of Sean Gomes and FastGuyStuff.com. Again, thank you, Paul Stannard, Sean Gomes, for being product sponsors for Vintage Motocross Q&A. The Legends and Heroes display. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the show. They'll be at every Supercross out there this year. They were in St. Louis last week. I know they were at Anaheim 1. What we're going to be doing, and I've helped with the Legends and Heroes Tour display, oh God, for so many years now, over 8 or 9 years since I've been here in California. Contact me if you want to display a bike on Saturday at the Legends and Heroes display. You're going to get a free wristband. It gives you a pass into the race. You got to be there pretty early in the morning, probably by 9 or 10 o'clock. You bring your bike in. It's very simple. You leave it in there. It puts it in front of the display. Later on, the bikes are all secured in an area. You can go in and watch the race. Contact me. I'll tell you how to do that. I also need help on the Friday before the race. The race is on February 3rd. On Friday, February 2nd, I'm going to need 4 to 6 people to help us set up the Legends and Heroes Tour display. It's not very difficult, guys, and many hands make light work. All we have to do is we put up some easy ups. From those easy ups, we take banners, we bungee them to the banners, we put up some grid, hang up some posters and display things. It's a lot of fun, actually. You get a good look at what's going on there before the race. And for helping us out, you get a free pass to the race. So remember, 1 pass per person that comes in to help. Give me a call, send me an email, or contact me through Facebook for that. I'm looking forward to seeing some guys down there. We have a good time there every year. Vintage Motocross Q&A sponsorships. We're doing good. So far, we've got Vinco, we've got TMC Company. I spoke to a few other people this week. I don't want to name names just yet. They're thinking about coming on board too. We've got some very reasonable rates where you could be here with a banner or on the screen here, and it's a chance for your company to get out there. Now, if I can just take a second, the Brad Lackey interview we did a couple of months ago, over 50,000 people were reached during that interview. At that time, I didn't have any sponsors. Can you imagine if I had mentioned your company and 50,000 people had seen it? Even when I do a show here each week with the help of Jordan and Susie, just our show with basic information, within 3 or 4 days, we reach over 20,000 people. Usually 2,000 to 3,000 people are engaged in conversation about the show throughout the week. If you'd like a proposal package, drop me a line. I'll be happy to email it to you. We can custom tailor some things. Maybe you want to, well, let me not say too much. Contact me. We'll get you a package, and we can talk about how you can become involved as a sponsor here on Vintage Motocross Q&A. I want to thank all the viewers who are watching tonight. Next Wednesday, I'm not sure yet. It's either we'll be here for a regular show or I'll be bringing you something special from the Mecum Motorcycle Auction in Las Vegas. For now, I want to thank you all for watching. Thank our sponsors, Vinco, TMC Company, our product sponsors, Paul Standard and Preston Petty, as well as FastGuyStuff.com. Thanks again. We'll see you next time on Vintage Motocross Q&A.